guys? It's Brad, and today we're going to talk about overcoming an injury. As you may have noticed, I debuted my new animated intro with the word despite, and that word is of particular importance for me in terms of my own recovery from my injury, and the way that I look at training is to overcome despite. So I hope this video means something for you guys, and I hope it helps. If you follow me up to this point, you know that I tore my bicep, my left bicep. I had a complete distal avulsion of the bicep tendon. It happened during a deadlift at the USPA Nationals in 2016, July 10th in Las Vegas. It was my last lift. I was going for a record of I think 751 pounds. I'll play the video now.
Nope. Said no lift.
Alright, so you can see the injury as it happened. You know, supinated my left hand, started pulling, got it up, and I actually got the weight up to the point where I was, I think, fully erect, and felt a pop. And the way that I felt it, it just kind of felt like someone punched me in the arm. So I felt the jolt of it, and I knew exactly what it was as soon as it had happened. I'd never experienced that before, but I knew it was. I'd seen enough of them where I was pretty confident I'd blown my bicep. And all I could focus on was whether or not I could hold onto the bar, because I really wanted to place in Nationals. That would have been pretty cool. And so I realized, yeah, I can hold this weight, and I'm going to hold this weight. So I held it, and I waited for my down command, got the down command, put the weight down. Immediately I turned over my shoulder to take a look at the light box to see if I got lights, and I came down with 2 reds and 1 white, so no lift. And then immediately, you know, you can see I glanced down to my arm, because I knew, fuck, not only did I not make second place, but I blew my arm. And then inadvertently, I think another guy had made his last attempt, and I ended up being pushed out of 3rd place by 5 pounds. And so I was upset about being hurt, because I knew how potentially devastating to my training this could be, how devastating this could be for my potential to continue to compete, and how negatively it would impact a number of things in my life. And so for the next week or so, what I did is I reached out to a few other people. David Douglas, he tore his left bicep in the 2014 USPA Nationals. And then, you know, he's got a video. I'll try to link it if I can, or I'll at least put it in the description below. He tore his bicep and had it reattached, and then 7 months later competed again. And so what I tried to do is reach out to other people who potentially had the same injury that I had, or other people that might be knowledgeable about injury recovery. So I wasn't necessarily fixated on other people that had the same injury as me, but rather people who might be able to help me kind of figure out a way forward. And so I also reached out to Stan Efferding. You know, unbelievably, he responded, and him and I started kind of a dialogue back and forth online. He was answering a lot of my questions and helping me out, giving me some advice for my recovery and rehabilitation. And the advice was really beneficial. One of the things that Stan cautioned me on is not to rush too much in the elongation of the arm. So, you know, he gave me some things to think about for healing and kind of recovering. And so that gave me some peace of mind. At least in my mind at that point in time, I had some level of expectation about, you know, what I should expect going forward. You know, and at this point, you know, my bicep is still torn. You know, I for the first day, you know, because I flew out of, I competed on a Sunday when I tore my bicep. It was in the evening, and then I flew out back to Florida on Monday. And flying with a torn bicep was very uncomfortable. And the next week or so after I'd gotten home was also pretty uncomfortable. And I'll include a bunch of pictures and stuff to kind of demonstrate and show what the injury looked like, for that following week. But essentially what I tried to do immediately was to get some level of expectation. What should I expect? So one thing that I learned when I was going through basic training, I forget who said it, I think it was one of the drill sergeants, talked about being out in the woods, being in the field, and being lost. And so that when if you're in the woods all alone by yourself and you realize that you're lost, what some people do, many people do, is they panic, and then they panic, rush around and try to figure that where they are, and become panicked. And so the more panicked you are, the less and less rational you are, and so the less rational you are, the more you lose your bearing, basically. And so the advice was this, that at the moment that you realize that you're lost, don't panic, don't run around, don't make the situation worse, but rather stop and take accountability for what you have. So that might be, literally in the sense of if you're out rucking or something in the woods or whatever, or you're camping or whatever, that you stop and you unload your pack. And you realize, okay, I have, this much water, I have this much food, I have a compass, I have the ability to start a fire, I have, whatever. So with realizing what you have, you're able to kind of eliminate some unknowns. You're able to try to start making a plan. So, I was lost, and what I was trying to do is reach out to the people to figure out what going forward would look like. What the future would look like for me. And that was kind of my way of getting my bearing. So once I got some ideas about, what it looks like and what the future may hold, at least internally, I was able to calm down a little bit. Now, as far as coming back from or recovering from the injury, I would say it's just mental tenacity and resilience. The decision to want to come back from this, to not give up, to not throw your hands up in defeat and say I quit. But the desire, if you love something enough, you're gonna push hard regardless. And so just deciding that you're going to recover from this is probably the first step. Now, through my recovery, I was trying to do as much as I could, as soon as I could, within reason. Now, what do I mean by that? So, I did things like squat almost as soon as I could. Predominantly, I didn't have to worry too much about holding onto the bar or really doing with my arm while I was squatting. So I was able to squat fairly quickly after the surgery. Even I think I had a hard cast on for 2 weeks, and once that hard cast was off, I started lifting again. And the only reason why I didn't lift any sooner was because I was afraid of sweating real hard and saturating that hard cast and just making it stink. That's the only reason why I didn't start training before that 2 weeks. But once the hard cast was off, I got put into a kind of a soft cast that I could take on and off, and it just limited my movement for my elbow. And so slowly we opened it up, and I was able to slowly get to the point where I could fully extend my arm. But at least initially I wasn't allowed to go past this 90. soft cast came off, and I started. I did a session of safety bar squat, and that was fine. And then I realized I could squat high bar, and I could hold onto the bar, and it didn't cause me too much discomfort. So that's what I started doing, and I just found a way to do anything I could where I didn't feel like I was at a big risk, and it didn't hurt. And so in doing so, even as forward thinking as I thought my orthopedic surgeon was, I found out that I was making her extraordinarily nervous. And in fact, I also found out that she put it in my medical records that she expects me to have a re-rupture. Now, whether or not that's true, or whether or not I ever experienced another rupture or a re-rupture of the bicep, I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I'm not going to spend my life worrying about things that may or may not happen. What I do know is that no matter what I do, I'm going to die at some point in time. So from now until that moment, this is all I get. This is it. So, if I experience another rupture in my bicep, she's already told me she's gonna, and I quote, unzip my arm and put dead guy parts in there. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? Life sucks, and then you die. But you got to find a way to do something that makes you happy. And if lifting heavy things and putting them back down is what makes you happy, then you're gonna find a way. Now, obviously my recovery story and my story about training despite a fairly significant injury is centered around the bicep tear, because that's what I've experienced. That's not to say that it's going to be much different for really many or any other injuries. You're going to be limited in some things that you can do, but there's going to be other things you can do. So one thing I didn't do a lot of, and I still don't do a lot of, is bicep work. You don't see me at the curl rack much anymore. I still do some stuff. I still do some light things. I believe in a process of trying to rehabilitate myself to do some curling. But I'm nowhere near where I was. And I don't know if I ever will be or not. Truthfully, I don't really care, because nowhere in a powerlifting competition is there a curl. So for now, it appears that all my numbers have been going up. By being able to focus on what I can do, that's what kept me going. That's what kept me driving and just pushing. And so you might talk to the doctor, and the doctor would tell you that I was taking too many risks and I was putting myself in a risky situation. But to my mind, I was doing things safely. I was achieving steps and goals 1 week at a time. I was slowly increasing the weight a week at a time. In fact, for my benching and all my squatting and everything else that I've been doing, my weight stays the same for 3 weeks. But I increase the reps by 2 reps per set each week. So slowly increasing the intensity and increasing the volume. So the volume increases over the 3 weeks, and then I increase intensity by bumping up 5% in my weight, and I'm only dealing with 60 to 70% of my weights. So all things being equal, I'm really being fairly meticulous in my approach. I also found a way to do things in a manner that allowed me to do what I couldn't do. So I have some videos of me doing some deadlifts with my strap, and I'll show that. Okay, so you can see the strap that I used. I actually got that from that idea from my friend Jeff Yonker. He had a surgery about the same time that I did on his wrist though, and he wasn't able to do much. And he had that strap, so I don't know if that was his idea or something he had seen somewhere else, but that's where I got the idea. And so I thought, well, great. I'm able to deadlift I'm able to continue to train and keep the strength that I'd gotten going into nationals. But the only thing I'm not working is my grip piece. And so also by doing it that way, I'm not exposing myself to too much risk. So that's what I did. And that's what you're going to have to do when you're looking at trying to come back from whatever your injury is you take a look at the injury and you figure out what can you do. When you're lost and you're discombobulated and you're trying to figure out which way is up, figure out what you have. What can you do? You hurt your upper body somewhere. Can you do lower body? Can you squat? Okay, if you can't squat, can you sled? Can you do the hack sled or hack squats or something like that? Okay, can you do leg extensions? Can you do leg curls? Just go down the gamut. Whatever it is, whatever the limitation is, find things that you can do, or find variations of movements that you can do. And then whatever it is, whatever body part that is lacking, like for me, when I had surgery on my arm and I started coming back, I couldn't bench. But very, very slowly, I just started working with just a bar. And with just a bar, I started doing reps. And then I realized, okay, I can do that. And I want to make this harder because I want to have some training value out of it. But I don't want to put too much weight on. So what I did is I used bands and I looped them through kettlebells and suspended those from the ends of the bars or from the bar. And you see lots of people doing this. You see stuff from Mark Bell and some other guys on there quite a lot demonstrating this technique. So I figured I'd give it a try. And it was a way of creating difficulty, right? Because there's instability in that and the bar moves and it's hard to hold on to. That was challenging enough for me to feel like I'm getting some benefit, but not so challenging that I thought I was going to hurt myself while doing it. So that's really that's what you need to do, is you need to find things that you can do that's going to provide enough challenge, but not overly expose you to risk where you're going to re-injure or make worse the injury you already have. And that's kind of the crux, is deciding that you're going to do it, figuring out how bad you want it, deciding that you're going to do it, and just finding a way to make it happen. On my Instagram, that's one of the hashtags I throw on there is #FindAWay, is because you just have to have that tenacity, the desire, the will to figure something out and just not give up. Because just staying stagnant and giving up is not going to get you where you want to be, especially if you have goals. All right, that's a video on how to kind of recover from an injury. Obviously, my experience is a bicep tear, so I hope it helps. Hope some information that means something to you. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you stuck around this long, give me a thumbs up anyway. I'm always looking for subscribes, and the channel in my mind is blowing up. We started out with, I think, 4 subscribers. We're up to 9. Moving on up in the world. So let's keep the subscribes coming, and keep the likes going. I appreciate you guys checking out the video and sharing the video and all that stuff. This is fun for me, and I drink beer when I do it, so, whatever.